Tonight on Let It Rip, the crypto craze hit with caution.
In my opinion, the cryptocurrency industry represents the largest Ponzi scheme in history.
One of the leading crypto exchanges implodes and takes its leader down with it. What's going on with cryptocurrency, and is it worth the investment? A cryptocurrency advocate and a financial expert with some doubts spell it out for us. But first,
I don't want to run for president.
even so, Governor Whitmer is considered a viable and strong candidate for the country's top job. And for those in the back, again, she says,
I'm not going to run for president in 2024. Period.
You mean it?
Yes.
Whether she likes it or not, her name pops up over and over again in the press and in Democratic circles. Tonight, the governor talks to Fox 2's Dave Kinchin about the buzz as our panel chimes in on why her name is being tossed out so often. And let's begin there. Michigan's governor considered a darling of the Democratic Party on the national stage, even as she says she doesn't want it. One guy who may want to run for president is a guy who ran for governor, Perry Johnson. He joins us tonight. Perry, always good to see you. Thanks for your time. Democratic insider and consultant Alexis Wiley also joins us tonight. And our reporter Dave Kinchin just talked with the governor and the lieutenant governor earlier today. We're going to begin with him. And anchor and legal analyst Charlie Langton, of course, with us each and every time here on Let It Rip. And so we thank the panel for joining us. Governor Whitmer says, I don't want that job. I don't want to be the next president of the United States. I don't even want to run. We've asked her that before. Dave, you just talked to her just a short time ago. How did that go?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is there's multiple ways to ask this question, right? And to get into the topic, even the question of vetting. So she did say, no, don't want the job. But what about vetting and that whole process? Would she be open to it? Well, take a listen. You've said you're not running for president, but what do you make of the national discussion, and would you welcome the vetting process?
No, I just got elected to 4 more years in the job that I love, that I want to do, and this is going to have 100% of my focus. I am so grateful to be the governor of the state. I've lived here my whole life. I'm going to live here for the rest of my life, and I want to make sure that whomever succeeds me has an even stronger Michigan to continue to take to the next level. So I'm excited about this second term, and it's 100% of my focus.
But if the National Democratic Party, if they push for your name to be thrown in the ring, I mean, would you accept that?
No, I'm going to be the governor of Michigan for the next 4 years.
So the space between what she said today and what could happen in the future is what we're here to talk about. Of course, there's so much that happens in the world of politics. Dave Kinchin, good work on that. I know you spoke with the lieutenant governor about whether or not maybe he'd want to get another job, maybe mayor of Detroit later on. A lot of things would have to happen for that. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Perry Johnson, we thank you for your time. Look, you're a guy
thanks
who...
for having me.
What's that?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Perry,
Likewise.
You ran for governor of the state of Michigan. You've looked into and continue to look into the potential for running for president of the United States. When you hear the governor say that, does that sound like politics or does it sound like the truth?
Well, she did run on the theme, she's going to fight like hell for Michigan, right? Did she mean that she was going to fight like hell for 2 weeks and then run for president? I'm not sure. Because logically speaking, I know that she's riding with Biden, but let's be realistic, she never lets him drive. And in all fairness, when you take a look at it, you never really know in politics. The one thing I've learned is that when a politician says something, if it's black, you never know whether it's really white. And in this particular case, who knows?
Alexis Wiley, there are so many governors who have both run for office, including, of course, former President Bill Clinton, who was governor of Arkansas at the time. They asked him back then, would you ever run for president? He didn't say yes, but he certainly didn't say no. This happens often, doesn't it?
Well, you know, I think in the case of Governor Whitmer, what you're seeing is, I feel like what you see, what you get. She is somebody who's so focused on driving an agenda that is going to put families first. You see what she's talking about expanding the earned income tax credit, reducing taxes on retiree pensions. I think she's really focused on really delivering for the people and the families who reelected her, and that's where her head's at. I think she's been so clear, and it just comes through very clearly.
Well, I got to ask you this, though, because right now the Democratic Party. Everyone talks about the Trump factor and whether the Republican Party will find their identity. I think it's safe to say that the Democratic Party is probably trying to find its identity on the national stage, too. President Biden is not necessarily considered a viable candidate for 2024, and they have to have a list and a bench, don't you think?
You know, I think when you actually look at where the president is right now, he's doing pretty good. I mean, you look at what we're seeing in terms of the economy getting stronger, inflation becoming less of a concern, still a big issue that he's addressing, but still things are getting better. I think he's in a great position regardless of what he wants to do.
Gen Zers and Gen Xers and millennials, do you think they're going to sit back and say, I want to vote for an 80-year-old guy in office in 3 years?
You know, my hope is that what they say is they want to vote for somebody who's going to get stuff done, and it's clear that he's doing that right now. So let's see what happens. I think it's too early to tell.
So, Roop, Tucker Carlson is going to retire. He's done. He's out of there. And I heard a rumor that you want the job. Would you take it?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I don't believe it in a heartbeat.
Take a job in a
I don't
heartbeat.
believe that.
Charlie would take that job in a heartbeat. But listen,
heartbeat.
rumors are rumors. People say they don't want to do something, they're not going to do something, and then they do it. And we also know that this is the same governor who was vetted for the VP spot, right? There's so many people in the Democratic Party who love this woman.
Right. Look, there's no question that she is on the national stage and that she is on the top, at the top of everybody's short list.
Why? Why would you say that?
What she was able to do in this past election, where she got elected, but it wasn't just her, right? You saw Democrats win across the board in Michigan, and that's something that it's not happening everywhere else. So I really think that she has positioned herself to be a leader, and she's going to lead the national agenda, whether she wants to run or not as for president. In her current position as governor of Michigan, she is going to help drive the national agenda and have more influence than I would say many others.
Let's just say that that's the truth, and that Governor Whitmer has zero interest in reaching any other office and just being the governor and then retiring for the rest of her life. Let's just say that's the truth. We know for a fact that it seems as though no politician is completely satisfied, it seems, in their positions without some talk of achieving higher office. Perry, when you take a look at this situation with across the board, people saying this guy is running for this guy is interested in this, what about doing the job that you have? Would you say that that appetite is insatiable? People can't get enough of the vetting?
Well, unfortunately, I never got a chance to test it out. I was an elected governor.
True.
I will tell you this, that you never really know in politics. And when you take a look at what actually is going on, as much as I like Alexis, I can't agree with her. I don't know that we could do a much worse job than Biden. They were actually celebrating the fact that we had a 7.1% adjusted rate in inflation, as opposed to 7.3. Forget the fact that we have 95% increase in the price of food. If you buy it in the store, or if you buy it in-house or you buy it in school, we have a 20% increase in health care. We had a 43% increase in airfare. And of course, you can save, I think it's 1.7% less if you buy women's wear inside, and you will save 16.5% if you're buying new television.
But what about the Democrats out there who will say, wait a minute, we have global inflation. We have inflation in other parts of the world that are happening right now where people are paying a heck of a lot more than that. How do you place the blame on Biden for that?
Why do we have inflation? We have so much inflation because they injected so much money into the economy. I read about it in my new book, 2 Cents to Save America. When you have so much money out there that you can't produce the goods and services for that, what happens?
How much of that can be blamed on a pandemic that choked supply chain and spending that had to happen because this country and this world was paralyzed because of a global pandemic?
Well, there is some argument that the very first stimulus was of significant value, but after that, it definitely gave us too much money out there.
Dave Kinchin, you just had a chance to talk with the lieutenant governor as well. Back to my question about people not being satisfied in their current jobs. There are many people who've been throwing, whether or not lieutenant governor himself has thrown his name in the hat. Obviously, he hasn't publicly. But there are others out there who say, hey, does this guy want to run for the mayor of Detroit? You had a chance to speak to him about that. What did he tell you?
Yeah, it's interesting. And really his point, and also I think the governor's point too, they were in lockstep on both these questions of higher office. They said, it's really, in a sense, about threading the needle, that the majority is so slim in the legislature in the new class that it's really going to be about the focus on threading the needle, working with both sides. And perhaps maybe that's one reason why they don't want to go too far talking about the future. But yeah, you're right. We did talk to the lieutenant Lieutenant Governor about that. There's talk on the street that he's interested in running for mayor, but listen to what he had to say. Lieutenant Governor, there's been discussion of you considering a run for mayor of Detroit. Your thoughts on that down the road?
I haven't heard or participated in any of that. Being Lieutenant Governor, working alongside Governor Gretchen Whitmer, has been the honor of a lifetime and the best experience of my career. And I want to continue to deliver value for everyone across the state of Michigan, all 83 counties. We have so much opportunity to create, so many institutions to support, so many people to build futures around. And I'm excited to do that and focus on that exclusively during my next 4 years in office.
Sounds like what any politician would say anywhere in the country if asked about running for higher office. This is obviously a narrative and a dialogue that is something that's very important to the Whitmer camp. Wouldn't you say, Dave?
Yeah, and I think, there can be several honors of a lifetime, too, depending on the office that you run for and if you're elected. I think there's a lot of different reasons to focus on the now because of the sensitive nature of, where things are politically and what happens in the next year. What wins this administration will have during the next year. They reshuffled the cabinet, too, so that's going to be key as they start working on
things change, though, right? It takes just a little bit of time and one tide to shift, and boom.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting to see the difference in how they both tackled that question, right, of what's next. The Lieutenant Governor is clearly, he's an outstanding leader, has done a wonderful job, and I think that there are a lot of doors that are open for him, and a lot of people who want him to consider a number of jobs, including at some point as mayor of Detroit. But there are others that are also on the table, and I think I love that his answer. Governor Whitmer was like, no, 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 no. But the Lieutenant Governor was like, it's an honor of a lifetime, and I want to make sure that I continue to serve. So he left himself a little bit of room, and that I think is something that'll be interesting to watch.
Think of the other way, though. Suppose they said, okay, Dave asked him a question. Do you want to be run for president? The governor said, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I'm running for president. Well, absolutely.
that was the
absolutely. I'm running for mayor of Detroit. No, what kind of credibility?
That's the thing.
Come on. You can't ask it. It's a good question.
You cannot answer
question.
that question honestly, even if your intention is to be the next president of the United States. Right. Would you say?
Yeah, because there's a lot of calculus, and the best part of that exchange, it's not on camera, is when the governor, when they were done, she picked up the microphone and her microphone and went to the Lieutenant Governor and said, Lieutenant Governor, are you running for president? So it got
Perry Johnson, are you running for president? Because that's something that you would. The last we talked to you after your campaign wasn't able to make it, and it was a failed gubernatorial gig, you said, hey, I'm not done. And you talked to Tim Skubic and you said, I may be thinking about the next president. Are you still considering being the next president or running for office?
I am going to run for some office. I don't know what.
I mean, I know you have to check with your wife and your family, but you were considering a bid for presidency. You were thinking about putting your name in the ring. Is that something that
I was thinking about it, yes. Right now I'm trying to promote my book. I wrote a new book, 2 Cents to Save America. I'm trying to promote that.
Alexis, are you running for president of the United States? I mean,
there's so many options, and I just want to. No, that's it. I haven't even written a book either, so I got a lot.
Are you running for president?
Absolutely not. But I guess the bottom line is when we look at these two parties right now, you're talking about new recent polling that came out that says Democrats, a large number of Democrats don't want necessarily Biden to be the next candidate. And a large number of people just today in Michigan said, I don't want former President Trump to be the guy. Charlie, how much truth are in these polls? And could they be kind of leading us to a road where we have two people who have nothing to do with Trump and Biden?
Yes,
yeah.
I think so. I think we have to wait and see about 4 years from now, but I think a lot of things can change. Let's get through this election for right now. Those two will be, President Biden, like, think of it. If you're a Democrat, you have to run against an incumbent president. That's hard to do.
It sure is.
President Trump, who knows? I think he is running. We'll see what happens. I don't know if you need petition signatures to run for president, though. Is that right, Barry Johnson? Is that true? I don't know. I have to check the law.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I guarantee that Gretchen will do one thing better than Biden does.
I think she's a candidate.
Shaking hands.
Why wouldn't she be a candidate for president?
She'll definitely be better at that.
It is good to see you. We thank you for your time today out of your busy schedule. Dave Kinchin, our reporter here at Fox 2. Great work over there talking to both the governor and Lieutenant Governor. Alexis, thank you as well. When we come back on the other side of this break, the third largest crypto exchange goes poof, self-destructing and taking billions of bucks of investors' money along with it. The future of cryptocurrency. We have two sides to this next. Welcome back to Let It Rip. Joining us now, David Derajotis, a cyber risk expert and chief insurance officer with Embroker. He says crypto still has an allure, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Dan Casey, a wealth manager with Bridge River Advisors, says we should all be weary about the crypto craze. And our own Charlie Langton, our legal expert and anchor as well, has invested heavily in, no, not crypto, but probably in caffeine, because the man doesn't sleep, and he's still with us here at this hour, and we, of course, always like it when you're here. Let's begin. Okay, for everyone watching right now, you may be going, wait a minute here, this whole crypto thing, I don't get it. And I would bargain to say the majority of you on your couch right now probably don't understand what crypto exactly is, but it's cryptocurrency, and it's been in the news a lot. Why? Because a guy named Sam Bankman-Fried is being charged with fraud, campaign law finances, all kinds of stuff with FTX. So that's one of the currencies. But first, David Derajotis, what is cryptocurrency, and why is Sam Bankman-Fried sitting in a prison in the Bahamas right now?
Yeah, well, we need to separate what Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX did versus what cryptocurrencies are. Crypto is a digital form of money. It's value that can be used to buy and sell goods, or it can be used as a form of investment. Think like gold, silver, something to that effect. So there's no two that are alike. Bitcoin is the reigning king, been around since 2009. What Sam Bankman-Fried did is more alike to the traditional financial system. You have one person or a few people that were controlling everything that was being done. You had outright criminal activity that was conspired. He has a number of charges against them. So I think it's important to not conflate the two.
Well, it's important then. Let's just talk, forget about Sam for a moment, and forget about FTX, and talk about things like Bitcoin. We know Elon Musk, back before he was doing the Twitter thing, he was all about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
What is cryptocurrency? Are they, for those who don't know, they're not actual coins per se. It's backed on a blockchain. What does that mean?
Yeah, the blockchain, think of it as a digital ledger. It's a way of following transactions, storing transactions, information. It's an open ledger. Bitcoin is one particular, again, I mentioned the king of crypto, been around for the longest out of any other that's out there. You have to look at what's going on all over the world. Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, you can even bifurcate those two. You take a country like El Salvador. Last year, they made Bitcoin legal tender. You look at some organizations across the U.S. are doing. Visa has partnerships in Bitcoin-related businesses, cards. You look at other organizations, Morgan Stanley, they offer their clients wealth management and investing in Bitcoin. We're seeing increased adoption, but I think Bitcoin is very different from what the rest of the crypto ecosystem is doing.
I want to bring Dan Casey into the fold. He brings up a good point. The United Nations, just as of this week, is saying, hey, we're going to transfer a special coin called USD coin, and we're going to help some of these folks in Ukraine who need food and need money in their bank, and these folks are exchanging that cryptocurrency for cash in Ukraine. So the United Nations is saying it's a thing and we should use it. What problem do you have with cryptocurrency in general?
So, and I'm old, so it's hard for me to understand, but it's like, even like my kids, they understand this whole digital currency thing very well. Like they play Fortnite, they pay money for a skin, right, that they never get to touch and feel. So it's definitely something that's going to be adopted. And that the Ukraine thing, it boggles my mind how that can get that done. And that's, of course, causing tons of conspiracy theories, right, of how the U.S. is messing with our currency. And really, that's how Bitcoin started, right? Because the Fed and the central bank started printing all this currency, and people are like, we need something better than what,
But is it backed with government money?
No,
So can I buy
nothing.
$1,000 of Bitcoin today? I can do that.
Well, you can, yes, but it's not backed by anything. That's why it's just supply and demand. That's why it's so volatile.
But some would say it's backed by the people who invest in it. And David Derajotis, right, you'll say there's this whole blockchain, which essentially is a a ledger that keeps track of me buying or Charlie buying or me selling. So there are people behind this, and that is who backs this investment, right?
Well, that's the big difference when you look at Bitcoin versus everything that's going on with FTX and SBF. So he was controlling it. It was centralized. It allows fraud, corruption to take place. Bitcoin is fully decentralized. And when you talk about what Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder, the anonymous founder of Bitcoin, the whole thesis behind it was giving power back to the people, financial freedom. There's no one institution or entity that controls it. The Bitcoin network is run by nodes all over the world, computers all over the world that keep the system propped up. There's no downtime. No one controls it. No one owns it. You have financial freedom with a currency like Bitcoin.
There's nothing scary about that at all.
Should Congress step in there and regulate this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, why aren't they doing it?
because they don't understand it half the time. Like the big audit firms aren't auditing these because they don't understand how a crypto exchange works.
But David, wouldn't you say that when Congress gets involved, the SEC gets involved, we get the government basically saying, hey, we want to help, that goes against the very ethos of the reason that all this started in the first place, right?
It does. I mean, you look at cryptocurrencies, they're censorship resistant, they're government resistant. Power to the people, the individuals to be able to control it. Now, if you look at what happened with FTX, what does it remind you of? Bernie Madoff, 2008, 2009. Regulation can't protect you from fraud like that. Bernie Madoff, that was a $65 billion fraud Ponzi scheme. You go back even a little bit further. You look at Enron, 2000, 2001. The stock price, trading at $90 a share. A year later, less than $1. They go bankrupt shortly after that. That's what prompted Sarbanes-Oxley, federal regulation, law, transparency around accounting practices. I think there does need to be some oversight. It needs to be done in the right manner. It can't be strangling, and it can't be authoritarian.
Can you use that as collateral to get a regular bank loan?
Absolutely, you can. You can, and that's what.
So banks are going to accept that as collateral to leverage a loan? Is that what's going on now?
Well, okay, look at JP Morgan, for instance. They just recently had approval for a trademark to have their own cryptocurrency wallet. They operate a blockchain. They have their own stablecoin. You talked about USDC. What that is it's back to the dollar. So you do have some cryptocurrencies that are called stable coins, and they are a 1-to-1 ratio with the US dollar.
Let's talk about the demographics of this, because this is important. Because look, here's the deal. Most of you are watching this on television. The people who are probably streaming us are probably younger, watching on your Roku TV or whatever you're doing on your phone or your thing. The average person who uses cryptocurrency is a Gen Z or a millennial. Average user is 38 years old. You think about a viable demographic, someone who spends their money, goes out and does things. I mean, Dan, at some point, we can't be the stodgy old guys sitting in these chairs saying, oh, that crypto is for the kids. We have to understand that it's real and it's here to stay, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And this volatility is just to be expected. With any asset that outperforms the S&P 500, it's going to be volatile. And since it started in 2010, S&P, about 277% over the 10-year period. You have any idea what Bitcoin grew over that 10-year period? Over 400,000%. So there's going to be some volatility there. It's a new asset.
And so when you take a look at this new asset and where it's headed, and you talk about regulation, David, I want to give you one of the last words here. Look, this is one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, according to federal prosecutors. What happened with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried? When you look at that, you know something has to happen. What's the balancing point of letting this happen and not letting it be the Wild West?
Yeah, there has to be greater oversight around money laundering, around transparency, where funds are going. I mean, essentially, FTX and Alameda Research, a sister company, they were just providing open lines of credit and money, taking customer funds and using it for whatever they want. Personal gains, purchasing real estate, whatever it may be, making campaign donations.
Other businesses.
That's exactly
it's money laundering, right?
It's money laundering.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. But that's not unique to the cryptocurrency industry. We see it in traditional finance as well. So I think there needs to be thoughtful oversight. They need to make sure that the transactions, from a centralized exchange at least, are being properly monitored. They can account for where money is going, and they're being transparent with their investors as well as their customers.
This guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, according to many journalists in the UK, including their current prime minister, who was the chancellor before, Rishi Sunak, he actually said, look, this FTX is like the Goldman Sachs of crypto. And this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, is like our Warren Buffett. Dan Casey, when you heard things like that, did you right away go, wait a minute here?
Yeah, and even Warren Buffett said, it's like rat poison, Bitcoin. That's how he compared it. So it's like, yeah, it's just a mess. And it's unfortunately, it's bringing everything down.
But he's in jail now, right? In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
And he wants to get out of there. What, he's fighting his extradition? He wants to stay in a Bahamas jail? I don't know about this guy.
I think he'd rather be in the U.S. jail, right?
I would think so.
We're going to come back with final thoughts right after this. Stay with us. Let's get some final thoughts. We'll go to David. And David, you brought up the point in the first segment here. It's important to make sure that we don't conflate FTX and the controversy with cryptocurrency in general. That's important.
Here's what it comes down to. When you look at the adoption of new technology, there are 5 phases that you typically go through. You have innovators, you have early adopters, and on the tail end, you have skeptics. Looking back to 1903, when Ford Motor Company was established, there were people that said, the horse is going to be here, automobiles are a complete fad. There are always going to be skeptics. I think it's important to make sure that you do your research, you understand what you're investing in, it will allow you to make make the best possible decision.
David Darajotis with Broker, good to see you. Thanks for your time today. Dan Casey.
And only invest what you're willing to lose, right?
That's right.
So yeah, so don't even think about it. That's how I've been doing it. I just it comes out of my checking account. I don't even see it. I can lose it if it goes down. And the problem too is everybody, there was that FOMO, fear of missing out. When it got up to $60,000 of shares, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss out, right? So everybody's jumping in, and of course, at the exact wrong time, right? So it's just buyer beware, like any.
Did you make money?
No.
Did you make money?
You only lose money if you sell it.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And he's holding on to her right now, making sure.
It's less now, though. That's less now than when you bought it.
Well, it is important. Look, as we say, this isn't going anywhere. We know that it's going to be around for a while. If we just began to teach you a little bit about cryptocurrency tonight, we hope it helped you understand a little bit better. That does it for this edition of Let It Rip.